The noise hit me like gunfire, loud, rhythmic, metallic, and way too close. I bolted out of bed, tripped over my dog, and stumbled to the window. Peering out, I saw 3 construction workers slamming steel fence posts into the banks of my creek, like they were pinning down a monster. And there she was, Lydia, perched on a folding chair like a hawk in leggings, barking orders and sipping a neon green smoothie that looked like pond sludge. It was 6:45 a.m. on my land. I yanked the window open to yell, but she cut me off, shouting, "You're welcome. We're sprucing up your ditch." That's when I knew Lydia had declared war on my property and she'd brought an army. The creek's always been more than just water to me. It winds through the back of my land, framed by cottonwoods and wildflowers. It's where my granddad taught me to cast a line and where my dog, Rusty, learned to chase frogs and miss every one. I'd never had neighbor trouble before, not until Lydia moved in 3 months ago. At first, it was typical HOA nonsense. Notes about my mailbox being too tall, gripes about my weathered American flag, endless jabs that my fence didn't match the community vibe. I ignored her like most folks did. But this was next level. She was fencing off my creek. I stormed outside in pajama pants and boots, looking like a hermit fresh off a bender. Lydia waved a laminated packet at me. "Good morning," she chirped. "This is a temporary upgrade, HOA-approved beautification. We're making it meditative." I glared. "This is my creek." She didn't blink. "Actually, it falls under communal viewability zones per HOA bylaws. It lacks structure and flow symmetry, so we voted to enclose it for the greater good." I stared dumbfounded. "Visibility zones?" She nodded smugly. "Page 43, section 6.2.2. I've read the HOA rules, memorized them, even after a small claims fight over a chicken coop. There's no section 6.2.2. But Lydia's confidence was ironclad, and her crew didn't care whose name was on the deed. They were already halfway done, hammering up what looked like tank traps for water. "What about the wildlife?" I asked, pointing at a family of ducks stranded on the wrong side. She clucked her tongue. "They'll learn boundaries, won't they?" Rusty barked like he was calling in artillery. I went inside, grabbed my phone, and dialed Hank. Hank's a retired game warden who smells like pine and always has jerky in his pocket. He's my neighbor, fishing buddy, and one of the few who gets what that creek means. "You need to see this," I said. 10 minutes later, he rolled up in his beat-up Chevy, stepped out with a chew in his lip, and whistled low. "Holy hell," he muttered. "She's fenced the whole damn thing for meditation?" He chuckled darkly. "She'll need a lawyer and a prayer." Then his face shifted. He squatted by the water, pulled out a pocket magnifier, and studied the bank. "You know what this is?" he asked, pointing. "A bad day?" "Not his creek's a federally protected steelhead spawning tributary. Been that way since '94. I tagged fish here for the state. There are sensors buried up and downstream." I blinked. "What's that mean?" "It means your HOA princess just fenced off a federally monitored habitat. That's not just illegal, it's felony level." We watched Lydia direct a worker to hang a fake bamboo trellis like she was staging a yoga retreat. Hank stood. "Call Fish and Wildlife. Now." I emailed the regional office with photos, location data, and a video of Lydia shooing kids away from tadpole hunting. By sundown, I got a reply. "Thank you for the report. Agents will investigate immediately. Obstructions of protected waterways violate Title 16 of the U.S. Code." Lydia had no clue what she'd stepped in. The next day, she doubled down. She hosted a creekfront serenity initiative, with guests in white linen, clutching crystals. They meditated by her serenity fence, now decked with lanterns, signs, and a lotus-shaped wind chime. One woman asked if the creek had healing powers. Lydia nodded gravely. "It didn't until I cleansed it. That was it." Hank and I marched over at dusk after the linen crowd drifted off in hybrids. I asked her to take the fence down before someone else did. She laughed. "You can't touch it. The HOA owns the aesthetic, including the creek." I raised an eyebrow. "Even if it's federal land?" She faltered. "What?" Hank grinned, holding up a photo of a tagged steelhead. "Congrats. You blocked a protected migration path." Her face glitched. "No, that's not private property anymore," I said as we left. I could feel her world cracking. 2 days later, the fence stood tall, and so did Lydia's ego. She'd added a sign. "Private reflection area to access only," with chairs and a tacky fountain. She thought she was winning a cosmic standoff. She didn't know bigger forces were closing in. That morning Hank called, buzzing. Fish and Wildlife's coming today. Your photos lit up their office. He told me to play it cool. I said acting normal while feds raided a suburban fence wasn't my forte. Around noon, a white SUV cruised in, circled, and parked. 3 agents stepped out, khakis, vests, serious VY bests. One carried a case that didn't look musical. I watched from my porch, fake trimming hedges. Hank fiddled with his fishing rod across the street. The agent strolled to the creek, then froze at the fence. One muttered, "You've got to be kidding." Lydia burst from her house, clipboard in hand. "Can I help you?" An agent flashed a badge. U.S. Fish and Wildlife, ma'am. We're inspecting a reported obstruction of a protected waterway. Lydia scoffed. This is HOA land. You need board clearance. Another agent stepped up. This violates the Endangered Species Act and Clean Water Act. That trumps HOA rules. Lydia snorted. That puddle barely runs. The agent didn't flinch. It's a spawning site for endangered steelhead trout. Obstruction's a federal offense. Lydia's face twisted. I want your super VY sore. He's upstream, an agent said, nodding at a guy scanning sediment. Then they got to work, bolt cutters cataloging a beeping antenna. This signal's from a buried transmitter, one said. Your fence disrupted it last week. Lydia paled. No one told me about transmitters. You didn't ask, came the cool reply. I bit my cheek to keep from laughing. Neighbors peeked out, jaws dropping as agents dismantled her reflection area. Lydia lunged, grabbing the bolt cutters. You can't. It's my design. They took them back, warned her about interfering with the federal investigation, and called the sheriff when she wouldn't budge. By the time a cruiser arrived, she was ranting about communism. The fence was gone by afternoon, replaced with a federal property do not disturb sign. That night, an emergency HOA meeting erupted. The board, fed up with Lydia's drama and the Fed's spotlight, saw resignations and suspended her pending a funds probe. Hank toasted me with a beer. Best part? It's not over. He was right. Lydia didn't quit, she escalated. She hired Victor Steele, a lawyer in a lavender suit who rolled up in a Tesla with Bylaw 1 plates. They stormed the HOA clubhouse, vowing to sue for government intrusion and emotional damages from environmental interference. Victor called it egregious overreach by eco-fanatics. I got a gold-inked letter accusing me of conspiring against community peace and requesting a restraining order for my creek proximity. The hearing came fast. I wore jeans. Lydia rocked a white pantsuit and flag scarf, Victor trailing like a showboat. Judge Evelyn Hart, sharp and no-nonsense, presided. Victor ranted about fake data and spiritually stagnant water. I handed over my deed, federal emails, and the creek's protected status. Evelyn eyed Victor. You know this is a federal habitat? He bluffed about zoning overrides. Updated last year, I cut in. She flipped pages. Your client claimed HOA rights on private land. Lydia yelped, it's visible to everyone. Visibility isn't ownership, Evelyn snapped. A fish and wildlife agent testified, detailing the fence's damaged spawning grounds, sensors, concrete. Lydia sputtered, I didn't know. You were told, Evelyn said. Ruling, my favor, no restraining order, Lydia ordered to stop, plus a DULA $45,000 fine for damages and HOA misuse. She peeled out, screaming. This isn't over. It wasn't. Days later, a weird smell, concrete dust, burnt plastic, her perfume wafted downstream. Hank found a dead fish. Behind Lydia's place we saw it. A sloppy cement wall rerouting the creek with mixed bags and a mop bucket. She'd struck at night. I emailed the feds and posted a vague community board pic. Neighbor lost in court, now rewiring nature. It blew up memes, hashtags, news tags. Then the twist. Trail cams caught Lydia in goggles and a jumpsuit, pouring concrete, singing My Creek, My Rules. The feds returned with a chemist and state backup, cordoned it off, and arrested her for tampering. She claimed deep fakes and erosion tests. The video leaked the creek. Lydia trended. The HOA banned her outright, and restoration began. She settled fines, CER a glitter pin, apology blaming earthbound mines. Then arrested hatch we unearthed during cleanup. Hank's ancestors' gold rush stash sealed the creek's historic status. Lydia sold her house, fleeing to Arizona. Hank and I fish again. Rusty chases frogs and the creek runs free. It outlasted her. Always will.